If you're the kind of person who lives for discovering new movies and you enjoy free stuff, I've got over 15 highly underrated movies to recommend, and they're all free to watch on YouTube for a limited time. Many of these are also on the free streaming app Tubi. You can even find a few on Prime Video and Hulu, but I'll break all of that down in the list recap at the end of the video. Thanks to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this episode. First, we've got insane helicopter stunts, witch hunters, bank heists, gypsy curses, fighter pilots, paranoia, Halle Berry, and some criminally underrated drama. Every movie mentioned is visually stunning in one way or another, and again, all free in YouTube's official movie section. For now. First up on this list of hidden gem flicks, we've got a doozy, one that only recently became available to stream on any streaming service, and it's free on YouTube for a limited time, Blue Thunder. It's a helicopter action flick from the early 80s, and while some of the effects do feel a bit dated, Blue Thunder is loaded with real helicopter stunts, insane helicopter stunts, and it's got kind of a cheesy early 80s vibe, so it's kind of like Top Gun, except the stunt work is actually bonkers compared to the original Top Gun. Blue Thunder's also surprisingly raunchy for an action movie like this, but Roy Scheider and Daniel Stern play these police helicopter pilots that are actually in the middle of testing out this new advanced high-powered helicopter that's supposed to be the latest thing in law enforcement. So the plot is nothing really outstanding, but when you pair that early 80s cheesy vibe with outstanding helicopter stunt work, like dangerous stuff, Blue Thunder's a pretty incredible throwback watch.
Well, I just wanted to say, sir, that was my fault. I talked Murphy into taking us there.
You're supposed to be stupid, son. Don't abuse the privilege.
For one that's not that old, relatively speaking, but one that I know a lot of people missed because a lot of people are not fans of Vin Diesel, although I'm sure a lot of Vin Diesel fans caught The Last Witch Hunter. I would imagine a lot of you maybe passed this one up, but I gotta say, this is one I love recommending when I see it available, and it's often available on free streaming services. In my opinion, the only thing holding this movie back is the PG-13 rating, but it's one of the few movies where Vin Diesel's not playing his typical character. Elijah Wood plays a pretty good character in this. Rose Leslie from Game of Thrones, Michael Caine. The Last Witch Hunter has kind of a Matrix-type vibe at times, alongside some pretty awesome fantasy elements. Dark, but not too dark. I guess that's kind of where the PG-13 rating comes in. That's going to be great for some of you. I felt like the movie was a little bit weak because of it, but still, this is one of the cooler Vin Diesel flicks over the years that just didn't get enough attention.
Say Witch Hunter.
Witch Hunter.
Longtime subscribers know I'm a sucker for heist movies, even when they're less than perfect. Less than perfect, like my next pick, 999. A pretty fantastic movie in terms of the setup. Not only does it have like a knockdown, drag-out cast, I'm not even gonna name everybody, you can see who's in the movie. And there's a lot of names on the poster for this movie. And that's probably where it suffers, not from too many characters, but too many storylines, too many interests, too many different points of view, on an otherwise pretty gritty cop drama. It's set in Atlanta, which you don't see that often, and it does have a couple of excellent heist sequences, but it does feel much more like a cop drama. This is from director John Hillcoat, who directed some amazing movies like The Proposition, The Road, Lawless. I think this is one of his weaker efforts, and his movie works, just not as perfectly as some of his other work.
Everybody listen up!
Marcus, you got a new partner.
Allow me to introduce Chris.
Hey, so can we talk about this?
Hell no.
I'll be brief with the next one because it's a cheesy movie that people just honestly laughed at when it released, but in retrospect, I think you can still have a lot of fun with Swordfish. Now, this is kind of a famous flop of a movie. It cost a ton of money, lost a ton of money, as far as I remember, but this one too, awesome cast, and an early role from Hugh Jackman. Not only is he not jacked in this movie, but he plays a computer hacker. The movie's surprisingly raw raunchy. The news on this movie when it released was like Halle Berry got an extra $1 million for going topless in the movie. John Travolta's playing like an unhinged, over-the-top bad guy, like over the top in all the worst ways, yet that's part of the charm of Swordfish is how cheesy and over the top it is. The movie was trying to be really cool and edgy when it released. While it failed, it makes for a wild, fun watch today.
Look, I flew 1,500 miles for this meeting. How about we get to the point?
No, actually, you flew 1,500 miles for $100 grand, but that's not the point.
Another movie that didn't do well when it released, and I think has just been forgotten with time, is an epic, epic movie from the Wachowskis, Cloud Atlas. Now, The Matrix and the movie they did before The Matrix, Bound, I think are really their only excellent movies. Storytelling-wise, they seem to have kind of fallen off immediately after The Matrix. And Cloud Atlas is an adaptation of a book that seems almost impossible to adapt. They tried it. I think they failed. Probably why this movie flopped. It still makes for kind of an incredible anthology where everything's taken out of order, yet the stories are connected. You know, anthologies don't really have the glue that a normal narrative has. It's just a collection of short films. This tries to be more glued together, and there is a lot of meaning there. If you can kind of withstand this very long-winded narrative Cloud Atlas has. But even if you lose track of where this story's going, it is still just a visual feast. Everyone in the movie plays a bunch of different characters, so it is a very interesting watch, even if it doesn't work perfectly. Now, if you were into any of the World War II stuff that's going straight to streaming, like any of the Netflix original World War II movies, you may want to check out The Pilot, which is a Russian World War II flick about a pilot that goes down behind German lines. I will say, unfortunately, this is a rare occurrence where there is only a dubbed version of this movie available, probably because it's on YouTube. So if you want to watch this movie but you want to hear it in the original language, you may want to wait for it to hit another streaming service. But this is much more of an adventure movie than it is a war movie. It's laser focused on this one pilot, things that are going on in his mind back home too, but focused on him, his plane crash, and his fight for survival. While it does have a straight-to-streaming kind of feel, I think the cinematography's pretty exceptional in this flick. It's also relatively slow-paced, giving it a little bit of an old-fashioned feel, despite this movie only being a few years old. Again, if you're into any of the recently released World War II stuff, things that are not, you know, Saving Private Ryan level productions, I think you definitely should check this out. Again, you just may want to wait for it to be available on a different streaming service. It most certainly will be soon. If you were wondering, yes, new shirts are available just in time for the holiday season at darrenvandam.com/shop. The shirts are ridiculously soft, but they are fitted design. If you like your shirts loose, I recommend going a size up. But get over there and check out the new holiday designs they just released this week. I know we just passed Halloween, so I did not want to include a bunch of horror on this list, but in terms of stunningly underrated movies, I had to mention As Above, So Below. Not only is this an incredibly underrated found footage horror flick, it's also surprisingly visually stunning for a found footage horror flick. Those movies, they're usually pretty ugly, and while this does have that general aesthetic, there are some moments in this movie that really stand out. I'll also say this plays out a lot like an adventure movie as well, or at least it does for the first half. Almost like an Indiana Jones movie as you follow these people going down into the catacombs underneath Paris. As they go deeper and deeper, the mysteries in this movie grow deeper and deeper. This one was kind of a sleeper hit. A lot of people pass up found footage movies nowadays. If you passed this one up, I gotta say, it is easily one of the best to have come out in recent years. 10 years.
Did you hear that?
But I might as well mention they get some other killer horror movies like Trick or Treat, easily one of the best anthology horror movies to come out this century. Certainly ones that revolve around Halloween night. It's one of the best. They've also got The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro, another one that didn't do great when it released, but looking back, it's actually a pretty exceptional The Wolfman movie. They've got The Exorcist, the original release without any of the added stuff, still an excellent movie. But moving on, we've got an action movie that stars The Rock that's very different from anything else he did. It's one of the early action movies he did, and it feels surprisingly old-fashioned for one of his movies. It's titled Faster. Not only does it feel old-fashioned, like it's got a retro vibe, but the setup is that of an old-fashioned revenge movie. And like some of the other movies on this list, it's not a great movie, but it is a fun watch and has some interestingly over-the-top characters, including one played by Billy Bob Thornton. This is lower budget action, but it's lower budget action kind of at its best. The movie doesn't take itself too seriously, you get some car chases, some shootouts, and ultimately by the end, Faster doesn't feel like your typical action flick starring The Rock.
Everything okay, baby?
Just catching up with an old acquaintance.
But for some other action honorable mentions that didn't make this video because they're maybe not underrated or hidden gems, include Atomic Blonde, currently free on YouTube. Just a visual stunner of a movie. I mean, this movie has one of the best retro 80s neon vibes with a killer soundtrack, and the fight choreography is all from the folks behind the John Wick movies, so it's all pretty badass and prolonged as well.
Your contact is David Percival.
Welcome to Berlin. I'm David. Don't shoot. I've got your shoe.
But for some classics, they've got Leon the Professional, one that I could just watch just about any time, and Enter the Dragon, obviously the best and most well-known Bruce Lee movie. They've even got the original Den of Thieves included for free right now, a totally awesome kind of homage to heist movies like Heat, a movie 100 times better than its sequel, which is available on Netflix, a paid subscription.
If we can break in and steal those old bills before they're destroyed, we got our hands on money that's untraceable.
But next up, we've got a Stephen King adaptation. An adaptation that was only done one time, a movie they probably would not make today, for reasons that will be obvious. We've got the 1996 cult classic, Thinner. In this movie, an overweight man receives a curse from a gypsy where he's going to lose weight every day. A curse that seems to be kind of a blessing at first until the weight loss doesn't stop, no matter what he does. Really great story from Stephen King and a pretty slick adaptation. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's pretty self-aware. It's kind of a cheeky horror movie. The type that's not really going to scare you or freak you out, but that can still be a lot of fun to watch, especially for Stephen King fans. Now, speaking of trying to put weight on, as I continue to try to grow muscle, something that becomes increasingly harder the older I get, working out regularly with a high-protein diet is getting me there, but one of my little secret tricks I keep in my back pocket is today's sponsor, Magic Spoon, which has been my late-night treat of choice for years now. That's because Magic Spoon is a high-protein treat that tastes just like cereals you remember from when you were a kid. Each bowl of Magic Spoon comes with only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs, with a whopping 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 0 grams of sugar with no artificial flavors. Magic Spoon is also gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free, making it easy to incorporate into your diet. Magic Spoon's available in classic cereal flavors like peanut butter and cocoa, but they also have fun flavors like birthday cake and maple waffle. If you don't do dairy, you don't want a bowl of milk with your Magic Spoon's also available in the form of treats. They're every bit as delicious and have some of the same stats. But my favorite Magic Spoon treat is their newest one. It's their granola. Not only is this stuff delicious, but my goodness, when I put it on top of some yogurt with a little bit of honey, that is my late night treat of choice. Magic Spoon has been a delicious way of helping me reach those protein goals by packing in those extra grams at the end of a long day. For a limited time, my viewers can save $5 off your first purchase when you go to magicspoon.com/flick. If you're not sure what to get, they have variety packs. That's going to be your best way to go. Again, you can use this QR code or just go to magicspoon.com/flick. Don't forget to use my code FLICK at checkout. Again, that's going to save you $5 off your first order. It's a great deal on something I highly recommend, but speaking of strong recommendations, let's get to the top recommendations on this list. Okay, last action movie on the list, and believe it or not, it's kind of a rom-com. It's titled Night and Day. It's one of the only movies like this Tom Cruise ever did, but it's got good old-fashioned rom-com vibes, which makes it a fantastic date night movie because Night and Day is loaded with Mission Impossible-style stunt work. That is to say, real stunt work. Now, in Night and Day, it's mostly played up for comedic effect, almost like an old Buster Keaton movie. And I gotta say, Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz have good chemistry in this movie, at least they do for the short runtime of this flick. The action in it is a bit over the top and silly, but it makes it a fun, lively watch and gives it a bit of a different flavor than most Tom Cruise action flicks. Over the years, this is one I think I've enjoyed revisiting more than some other more popular ones like Jack Reacher.
On three. Ready? One.
Sorry. I panicked.
What number would you like?
3. Yeah, let's just stick with 3. It's good.
Okay.
Now, I know I said it was the last action movie on the list, but I'll also point out really quickly that they have all of Guy Ritchie's most recent movies, including Wrath of Man, my personal favorite, just incredible Jason Statham gangster movie. This one was kind of disguised as something else when it released, and it's a brutal Guy Ritchie gangster flick. I highly recommend it. Operation Fortune was a fun caper of an action movie starring Jason Statham. I'll say a bit funnier and better than the typical Jason Statham action flick. And they've also got The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal included for free right now. Believe it or not, I've got one of Jake Gyllenhaal's first movies real close to the #1 spot on this list. Now, if you didn't know better, you would think my next pick was an action movie, even just by looking at some of the shots I'm going to show you here. But Out of the Furnace is a nail-biter of a drama, a down and dirty drama. It's directed by Scott Cooper, who also did Hostiles and The Pale Blue Eye, both with Christian Bale. And even though I think Hostiles is an exceptional Western, Out of the Furnace may be my favorite. One reason is because Woody Harrelson plays an incredible bad guy in this movie. He didn't do that too often. He's amazing at it in this movie. Casey Affleck is fantastic. Forrest Whitaker, Willem Dafoe, Zoe Saldana. It's also one of Sam Shepard's final movies. The plot is a bit too complicated to explain, but basically Christian Bale plays an ordinary steel worker who takes the law into his own hands after the police can't find what happened to his missing brother, played by Casey Affleck. Again, a very wordy explanation to a movie that feels fairly slow, yet raw and real. This movie's got an incredible feel to it, top-notch cinematography, obviously the acting's on point, but just kind of a beautifully gritty movie that got criminally overlooked.
He's tough. Makes me want to jump in there with you. See who walks out.
I just need the money.
I should have pointed out that Scott Cooper, the director of Out of the Furnace, his first big movie was Crazy Heart, starring Jeff Bridges, because my next pick is a highly underrated Jeff Bridges flick titled Arlington Road. In this movie, Bridges plays a man who begins to suspect that his new neighbor, played by Tim Robbins, is secretly a domestic terrorist. Now, what's so great about Arlington Road is it doesn't go straight for it. Bridges spends a lot of time trying to figure out, is this just in his head? Is he imagining things? Is he making things up? Or is this nice fella who lives next door to him actually planning some major domestic terrorist attack? So this one too, just an intense thriller, top-notch acting. You're really not gonna know where this thing's headed until the final moments before the credits roll, which is, I think, why I enjoyed this movie so much. It's very uncomfortable and unnerving all the way through, but ultimately sticks the landing.
You're more than welcome to stay.
A minute ago, I mentioned I had one of Jake Gyllenhaal's first movies. He plays a young man in my next pick, which is a true story titled October Sky. In this movie, he plays Homer Hickam. the son of a coal miner who becomes obsessed with rocketry after the Sputnik launch. Hickam would go on to become a famous engineer, but this movie focuses on how much of a struggle that was at his age, coming from the background that he came, the expectations that were on him. I mean, he's literally being sent down underground as he's looking up at the sky, dreaming of building rockets. So not only is it a true story, but metaphorically it works beautifully, and then it's just a top-notch production. So fairly slow-paced drama, but a highly rated one that just has been forgotten with time. My number 2 pick is going to surprise some of you, and I don't care. This movie is a cult classic, whether you realize it or not, and it's a raunchy one, The Girl Next Door. Released in 2004, this movie feels like 2004, which is one of the reasons I still like it. It was an odd time. The clothes they're wearing in most of this movie they seem very 2004. It's the nicest way I can put it. But it is an exceptional movie. Emile Hirsch plays a high school kid. He is just still a fantastic actor. He's in at least almost one interesting movie every single year still. But this movie's over 20 years old and still stands out as one of his best. Elisha Cuthbert moves next door. She was hot stuff back in 2004. And in this movie, she plays an ex-adult film star. All the boys at school know who she is, cannot believe she moved in next to their buddy. He becomes very popular, as you can imagine, but it's an excellent sort of teen romance movie in the spirit of classic John Hughes movies. Like, the quality is there, but it feels very much of the early 2000s. You also get Timothy Olyphant playing a really ridiculous bad guy. He's like a movie producer, we're gonna say, for the sake of words you're not allowed to say on YouTube. He's awesome in the movie as well. Everybody makes this thing work. If you like classic comedies like American Pie, I don't know, I'm not gonna compare this movie to American Pie, it's better than that. And then we're going to wrap this up with a Ridley Scott movie that, again, went criminally overlooked. And I gotta admit, I don't think everything Ridley Scott does is a home run. The guy has his misses. In fact, he's got a lot of movies I don't really care for. But All the Money in the World is an amazing movie that nobody cared about when it released. Now, at the time that this was getting released, it was the time when Kevin Spacey was getting canceled, and he played a main character in this movie. They had already filmed all of his scenes, and then they had to reshoot them with Christopher Plummer. Or rather, they decided to reshoot them with Christopher Plummer. But all of that stuff made the headlines, and nobody really cared about the actual movie. But this is based on the true story of a young man who was kidnapped by terrorists. Luckily, his grandfather is one of the wealthiest men in the world. Unfortunately, his grandfather, again, played by Christopher Plummer in the reshoots. Fantastic performance from him, by the way. Like, he came into the movie that was already finished and killed it. But unfortunately for this young man, his grandfather does not want to pay the ransom money, and that's really what this movie's ultimately about. But it's also a fantastic hostage movie. You are in the hostage situation with this young man as he's not just trying to escape, but he's trying to make allies. You also are following his mother, played by Michelle Williams. There's all the politics back home. Why won't the grandfather give up the money? All sorts of stuff going on in this movie. Beautifully woven together. Great cinematography. Just a top-notch film no one wanted to talk about when it released, so I'm talking about it now.
I do not have the money to spare.
No one has ever been richer than you are at this moment. What would it take for you to feel secure?
More.
Here is a recap of the list. Just as a reminder, these movies are temporarily free on YouTube here in the United States. If you're not in the United States, check the list recap at the end of every video because I'm listing other streaming services you may find these movies on where you live. If you found something good to watch, leave me a like. It is very helpful. If you want future recommendations, subscribe. But I'll keep making these videos as long as y'all keep watching them. Thanks for watching this YouTube list, and you will see me on the next one.